360 TV proudly presents Messages of Inspirational Stories, broadcasting and live streaming to millions of devices around the world, including Roku, and live streaming to Facebook Live, also on Amazon Fire TV, and to Twitch. Also, Android TV and Periscope. Broadcasting to Apple TV and YouTube Live. Proudly brought to you by our host, Donna Guinois, producer and host, Michaela Vidal, host and administrator, and Jim Grant, producer and host. Proudly brought to you by the 6minutewebinar.com.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. We are so excited today, aren't we, Jim?
We certainly are, ladies and gentlemen, and today we're going to be blessed again by Mr. Bill Heinrich being with us today. Oh my goodness gracious. Last week and this week, we have been sharing information from his book, The 7 Levels of Truth. And yeah, Donna's holding up the cover there. You can find it on Amazon. And most importantly, we actually shared some of the exact quotes from the book for 2 reasons. Number 1, we knew that we could not improve on the language. But number 2, we wanted to share with you and give you an idea on the type of language and the powerful language that's contained in this book. It's amazing, isn't it, Donna?
It really is. And one of the things I love about this book so much is that although from cover to cover, it absolutely is empowering and life-changing, but Bill puts it in such a way that you can understand it and grasp it easily.
Oh, yeah. That's what I like about the language. It's very simple, but it's right down to the nitty-gritty. It gets right down there.
It gets right to the point.
Absolutely. And Bill is also the co-host on the radio show, Your Future Is Now. It's got over 6 million downloads. We quit counting at 6 million. And Bill was a huge part of the success of getting that into the millions, and very grateful for that, very thankful for that. But I tell you right now, we told Bill something that Donna and I did that we don't normally tell any guest. And that is, you can do whatever you want to on this show because we're going to follow the energy, number 1. Number 2, that's how much confidence and how much we know Mr. Bill Heinrich, because Donna and I both endorse him. We highly recommend his book, The 7 Levels of Truth. You can find it on Amazon. And ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Bill to the show, because you're in for a treat. Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Good morning. I'm great. Good morning. First of all, I want to say thank you for taking such an interest in my book. I wrote that book to share with people how I took my life from misery to contentment. And I have been studying it for 30 years. So I really appreciate it. And I hope some people are getting some benefit by listening to this, because what's in the book is good, like Donna said, from the very beginning to the very end. No wasted words.
Right.
So where do we want to start? What do you guys have in mind today? We can talk about anything you want.
We've been sharing about these chapter 6, the best things in life aren't things, this week.
Oh,
that's a tremendous chapter there. And, you can just share any thoughts that you have about that chapter, what inspired you.
Well, I'll tell you what,
go ahead.
Donna, you have the book. Open the book to the chapter and go into the chapter and just pick a paragraph and read it. And then we'll talk about that, whatever that is.
Absolutely. Fear is the most common feeling known because it is the cornerstone of survival-based lifestyle. Fear is a good thing. It tells us when we need to make conscious choices from our heart. When we respond to fear from our head, our ego wants to protect us. Based on our past experiences and our internal belief system, fear will generate a negative response to any situation. It is also powerful that it immediately creates a fight or flight response. Fear gets our attention, and our egos use this tool wisely to maintain control of our lives. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Fear always wants to know how we are going to do anything and blocks us from moving forward. This is not fear as it is related to a life-threatening situation. Rather, it is a free-floating fear generated from internal beliefs. Fear creates perceptions of conflict, loss, not being good enough, or worrying what others will think. It is the energy of protection, procrastination, lack of self-worth, manipulation, and control.
Wow.
Well, I guess I want to retract what I said. Why don't you just pick any sentence from the book?
Yeah.
And I followed directions pretty dang well.
That's a powerful paragraph. I can tell you that. There's a whole bunch in there.
There's so much in there, but
Mhm.
let me go to just some of the basic elements.
Mhm.
This came out of a chapter, The Best Things in Life Aren't Things. And people are so focused in the physical that we're so focused in life. We're so focused in our individual reality, our work, our kids, our family. It's all about the physical. And we're just taught how to survive from the day we're born. It's all about survival in the physical. And I give a talk called Surviving versus Thriving. And if you want to thrive, I mean, really thrive, you have to understand the non physical, because the best things in life aren't things. Like, people will never remember what you said, but they're always going to remember how you made them feel. We've all heard that.
Mhm.
Feeling is a very intimate relationship, and it's a truth that we can connect with. It's the only truth we can connect with each other, is how we feel. We understand sadness, happiness, but we live in the stories around it. So the stories won't be the same, but we can connect from the actual feeling.
Mhm.
And so when you think back to a special time in your life, maybe it was a birth, maybe it was wedding, whatever it may be, you'll always, what's going to take you back there is the emotion and the feeling that you had. So
Mhm.
when you speak of fear or love, if I ask you what either of those look like, we would all have to answer truthfully, it all depends on the situation,
Mhm.
because we don't know how love is going to show up. There's
Mhm.
romantic love, there's love for children, there's just all kinds of love. Oh, I love those flowers, and oh, love, whatever. We don't know what love looks like. We describe it from our emotion, right?
Correct.
So
Mhm.
that's not a thing, it's an energy.
Mhm.
It's an energy. Now, fear, the same thing. We don't know what fear looks like. However, we know where fear comes from. And where fear comes from is your mind, because it's focused on the physical, and it's only focused on one thing, and that's to protect you.
Mhm.
It's all about protection, using logic. And the problem with using our mind, and the problem with mindset, is when you use your mind, the only point of reference that you have is the past. It's your past experience. You can't explain a new experience that you're going into that you've never had before,
Mhm.
Right.
right? Like, I just got this new motorhome, and it's a whole new experience for me. I had no idea what it was going to feel like, what it would be like. I live full time in the RV, and today it's the second day I'm in it. So I'm having that experience and gaining a lot of experience
Mhm.
from that. So what fear in our head is only going to protect us. And what that means is we're just stuck in the physical, and we're stuck in survival, and we're stuck in lack and limitation and all of the things that cause suffering.
I really
What
like
question
the
do you have?
last. I was just going to say, I really like that last sentence in that short paragraph that Donna read, where it says, "It, speaking of fear, is the energy of protection, procrastination, lack of self worth, manipulation, and control."
Right.
That hits everything right there on the head. And
It
looks like
really
Bill's got a
truly
little
does.
bit of a, there he is. He's got a little bit of a connection there. So is that the real Bill there? I think we got you there, brother.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good deal. Good deal. Yeah, I tell you, technology is a wonderful thing till it doesn't work. And then we're with signals, of course, we can have issues, but either way, we're going to be driving on, sharing great information with you because fear
Yeah.
is something that comes to us
Let me.
naturally. Go ahead, sir.
I'm going to sign off and back on my iPad. My connection here
Okay.
is too weak. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, sir. All right. It's really amazing how fear really governs our life and how it really controls us. And
It
Don,
does.
in that last sentence, that's a powerful sentence. Fear is the energy of protection. So it's got power.
It has huge power.
Oh, yeah.
And
I
like Bill
mean,
says, though, fear protects us at times when we need physical protection,
mhm,
right?
right.
Gee, if I walk into that fire, I might get burned. That's
Yeah.
a real proper fear that
mhm,
protects us. But on
mhm.
the flip side of it, fear also keeps us in our mind from going forward.
Yes. From being, it enslaves us.
Right.
For example, we've been working on some special projects coming up, and we can all very easily jump to whatever could go wrong. The
Right.
wheels can come off the cart. That's perfectly normal, perfectly natural. But if we, just let fear go and focus on the love of labor, then let the energy come in.
Right.
And with our options, because we haven't built any mental boxes with decisions, we talked about that. I think we talked about that yesterday on yesterday's
We
show
did.
because um, when you make a decision, you're going to make everything. You start out with, okay, I'm going to do this, and this is the end result. And there's a lot of things that may happen that's above your control or anything like that. And it's kind of like, well, you're going to be pushing a chain uphill is the best way I can see it, Donna. How about you?
Right. When you make that decision
Mhm.
and put that decision in a box, it
Yeah.
blocks us, it blocks the energy
Yeah.
from going forward
Mhm.
and having the option to maybe create
Mhm.
something better.
Yeah. That's what Bill told me I told him one day I made a decision. He's, Jim, don't make any more decisions, just make options because that gives you a lot more flexibility. And Mr. Bill is back with us, and we're going to bring him back in. There he is. Can you hear us, Bill?
Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure. You're fine.
I'm back again. I'm on my iPad, so I apologize. I have a new router ordered. The internet can get sketchy sometimes in an RV. But anyways,
Mhm.
so what were you saying, Jim, when I went off? Where you were making a statement about something that I think
Oh,
Donna had read.
the last sentence. Fear is the energy of protection, procrastination, lack of self worth,
Yeah, yeah.
manipulation, and control. Wow. That's a mouthful right there in that sentence.
It's a head
Yeah,
full.
well, the first place that I always tell people to look, right? Because if you want to live, if you really want to thrive, okay, everything's in the book about the universal energies, the things you can do, everything's free. And you can literally create the life of your dreams. Oh, somebody's at the door.
Go,
I'll be right back.
No
go
worries.
right ahead. Go right ahead. When Bill comes back, I want him to share a little bit of information. If you use the guideline of love or fear before you take any action, your life would improve significantly. if you use the guideline of love or fear. I want him to go into that.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
because ladies and gentlemen, that's above my pay grade. Am I right on that, Donna?
Right. But what I do know is fear stops us. And
Yes.
fear for me is can be manifested in so many ways. Not one of the things I've learned personally is that when we are let little things come up in our life and I would react to them, and instead of thinking about the whole overall solution, it blocked me from getting to where I needed to be.
It sure does. And just as Bill stepped off there for a few moments, it's on page 163. It says, if you use the guideline of love or fear before you take an action, your life would improve significantly. Are you responding to fear with fear or making a conscious choice? I'd like for Bill to expand on that a little bit, if you would, please.
Well, yeah, that's all it comes down to. What happens is, the reason I wrote the book is I lived in misery for decades. And just finally, I got so miserable, I couldn't take it anymore. And I literally walked away from my life. I literally walked away, changed everything but my name, and said, I've just got to find the answer of why I'm so miserable. And this research has just led me from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other, and just uncovering all kinds of resources that are available to us. And what I've come to learn is I lived my entire life in reaction. I would live my life. First of all, I'm very funny. And what I would do is use humor to get your approval and your love. And so I was like a chameleon. And it was because I was terrified. I didn't know how to live. I didn't know who I was. And that worked. I didn't realize I was doing it much later. A lot of very low self-esteem, all of those things. And so when I started changing my life, I didn't even know what to do. And it came down as I was looking at things. When we in the physical are living in survival, okay, we're just focused on our needs and having more and more money and it's just all about survival in the physical. Resentment, jealousy, judgment, blame, shame, and guilt, all of those great things go with that, because there's typically going to be an expectation involved, Jim. So when there's an expectation and you have your attention on something, where your attention goes, you go.
That's
and
correct.
With an expectation, with what an expectation is, it's your perception, it's your future casting of what you get to look like when you get that, whatever it may be. It may be a job, it may be more money, it may be a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or it may be a husband or a wife, or it may be whatever. But the truth of the matter is, it's just because we're stuck in the physical. When you're looking at it that way, and you're absolutely going to get into manipulation and control. You have to. Because your life and mindset is centered on that expectation. So
you're exactly
when when you're set one way, you're always, and this is probably the biggest thing that I teach people, is defensiveness. Look for defensiveness, because there's no reason to be defensive.
You're exactly right, Bill. And I'll tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, first time I read this book, The 7 Levels of Truth, that's it right there. It's on Amazon. I saw a lot of shortcomings, a lot of
you're going to protect.
I saw a lot of shortcomings in me. And all the decades that Bill talked about there, and all the searches that he went on and researched to find himself and to understand why he was so miserable. He wrapped it up in one book, 208 pages. So if there's things out there you've heard about the book this week or hearing from Bill directly, the author, and that would change your life, go to Amazon today and get this book. I guarantee it will bless you and change your life. And we don't receive a penny of that, and we don't want a penny of it because Bill is a friend of ours. We know the power he brings. We know the value he brings. And most importantly, we know it will be a blessing to you in your life.
Well, and I would just add to that, Jim, that the love that is in this book from Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there is, Bill, you have a miraculous way in your words of giving love, but in a very straightforward way. And that's how you are in person.
Mm-hmm.
And, that is in my opinion, a unique combination and a gift that not everybody has.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
it certainly is.
I hear this many times, I just have a knack for saying things in a way that people understand them. I don't know why that is.
It's one of your gifts.
But it's just, yeah, it's speaking of that, the name of the book, The 7 Levels of Truth, is we each have some divine powers. Mm-hmm. They're energetic powers. If you're familiar with chakras, this is the energy that flows through the chakras. And these 7 powers, we all have the same 7 powers, but we have different levels of energy with each power. So This is the unique thing. This is where, when you've heard somebody say we're all like snowflakes, we're uniquely different. This is the difference, is this energy. And what happens is when the energy flows and your survival, you misinterpret it and you're living in the penalty side of it. But when you understand the energy and you step to the power side of it, your whole life changes instantly. It's absolutely wild. I've been doing this over 10 years, hundreds of clients. It happens like that when they understand that energy, which is in a different chapter. So that's why I call it the 7 levels of truth, because the only truth in the world is how we feel, is the energy, what our energy is, where our energy is. Nothing else really matters. What's happening in the physical is just going to happen. Energy is going to come together. The definition of disappointment is when expectations meet reality, because it never comes out the way you want it to. There's always the want for more. And that's one of the interesting things, because as you're wanting to achieve something and grow, maybe get a new job or whatever it may be, from where you're standing now, you have a perception, but as you proceed towards it and you gain, learning more, doing what you need to do, you start gaining new perceptions. So in essence, you're never really satisfied, because when I'm sitting here in my new motorhome, which is really very nice, and it's the one I had was 38 feet. This one's 36 feet, and I'm sitting next to a 44-footer. Okay, so it looks like I'm the dinghy for the one. So there's always something better. That's my whole point with that, right? There's always something better. And our perceptions change as we grow and we expand. If we look into expansion and understanding us, when fear comes up or you go into defensiveness, look at the story that's creating that, because we all live in some sort of story. And, the biggest thing with fear is when your life is just about learning. So as you're moving to new experiences, which happens to all of us all the time, as we're moving to new experience, fear is keeping us in that mode of protection. And fear asks in a very low way one question, the one-word question, as you want to grow and do something. And that question that fear and your mind will haunt with is, how will you do that? How do you go from where you are to what you want to achieve.
Right.
That's what puts us into lockdown, into procrastination, because it's in the physical. All you have to do is take the next step with good energy.
I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulty on Bill's end. He'll be back with us in a minute, folks.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, he's this is what I love, because I know in my own life, when I would let fear in all of the adverbs, nouns, whatever you want to place with that, it really got me stuck, right? And my energy could not move forward.
Exactly right. I'm trying to add Bill again, and hopefully we got him this time. And there we go.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I've even got a bad connection on my iPad.
That's quite all right, brother, because the internet, everybody understands that. No problem.
We don't sweat the small stuff.
So
Bill.
I have no control over it, that I know.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're not here, Donna starts singing. So, you know, it's
yeah,
questions or comments or on what I said, or
oh, you know, when it comes to your book, Bill, my goodness gracious,
how much does how come up, Donna?
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said, how much does the word how get in your way?
Ooh.
That's interesting. You know, I haven't looked at it, but I can honestly tell you that I don't think about that word. I really don't. I just, I really don't think about, well, how are we getting to the next level? I don't, when you say that, it's mind blowing, because I don't think I've thought about that. Like in all the stuff that Jim and I and our team are working on, I've not thought about how. I just know we're going to get there.
Yeah. And she gave me her gift of how, so I do it for both of us.
That's working on it from the non-physical, energetic side and taking the next step.
Right. It's just,
and what happens
you know,
is,
it's shocking.
Yeah. Well, you know, let's let me make up a scenario. And I'm quite. My intention is to be a state of over 20,000 people sharing.
I think he said
but
it was
I do know I'm holding that intention. So as the energy expands, and just with what you're doing with the TV show, it's showing me that the energy is expanding, that you're featuring my book and speaking to me, and I'm just taking the next step, and I'm going to do some research. It'll happen when it's supposed to. It'll happen when it's supposed to. But in the meantime, I'm holding that intention. I'm sharing the same message right here, right now. So I'm fulfilling my purpose. And this may be the most important talk I ever give. There may be someone that listens to this, that it makes such a drastic change in their life that makes it all worthwhile. Because the one thing I can tell you for certain is everything in that book works. If you learn it. That's why I was interviewed by these people, woman up in Canada last week. She was like, "Ma, you certainly are committed to what you teach." And I said, it's energy. It's so simple, because everything is energy, and it's just a vibration. So when you look at everything from the vibration, there's no logic, there's no story. It's just, what vibration are you creating? Are you creating a vibration to attract to you that which you're going to create? You know, it's as simple as when you make a choice, Donna, or you're presented something, you stop and say, is this something that I want on my energetic foundation?
Absolutely.
Do I want this in my house?
Right. Right. And you know, it's funny, even before I met
with
you.
Each choice, literally.
Go on. It's okay. Go on.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, even before I met you and got your book, I was on this path. And one of the things that I was saying for a moment when you were off the air was that I can remember when I let fear, anger, all the little things in life get in my way.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so it stopped my energy. And when I started to get rid of that, you know what? I talked about this on yesterday's show, and I think this is so important. I don't sweat the small stuff. I seldom, and I do mean seldom, give anything enough energy that of something that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because when you give it energy, it manifests and it throws back in you in a way you don't want that energy, right? So at this point in my life, for many, many years now, I let all of that go. Mm-hmm. Because guess what? It doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve my energy.
Amen.
And moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Also, too, yesterday on the
you
show,
said I don't sweat the small stuff. I don't sweat anything.
Well, I'm in Arizona, so I do sweat a lot.
He's just a cool cat.
It's just stuff that's going to happen in the physical. And the most important thing about what's happening, is my energy that I'm interacting with. Okay.
Right.
And if my energy is fear and concern and survival, I'm only going to be thinking about me. Mm. But if my energy is coming from a place of love for the benefit of all involved, I'm just going to be speaking to the benefit of all involved, whatever that may be. Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's all you have to do. And it doesn't matter what the situation is. If it's a situation where, you have been unable to fulfill something. I had a situation where I bought a house. I've since sold it in Las Vegas, but I had owner financing on it. And when it came due and payable, I didn't have the money to pay him. I wasn't able to get my mortgage done. And I just walked down and saw the fella. I'd never met him before. I went down to his office unannounced. The secretary said I was there and went in to see him. And then said, I can't pay the loan. I had all my paperwork with me. I said, here's what's happened. Here's where I'm at. You get to do whatever you want. You have a lot of choices here. Mm. And that was it. And, he was shocked. He just looked at me and he said, well, I don't really need all the money now. Just keep making payments. I said, okay, I'll have it resolved within a year. He said, great. We didn't write a new contract. We didn't do anything. I just kept making payments.
Right.
Wow.
It wasn't even on a handshake. It was just verbal. And he could have just said, well, I'm going to foreclose. I'd say, okay, I'll put the house on the market and get it sold before you can foreclose, whatever. But it was out of my hands. And that's just the way it worked out. People are shocked when you approach them from a place of love for the benefit of all involved. They're just, it's so refreshing. The energy is so refreshing.
Oh, it really is. And yesterday on the show, we were sharing a little bit about how Donna and I met, and she was in a very stressful type scenario. And with that stress,
something you wanted to say, Jim?
Yeah, I was just going to say yesterday on the show, we talked about Donna and I first.
You able to hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was in a very stressful situation, and she was caught up in the stress.
My connection is acting up again. It looked like Jim had something he wanted to say.
Yeah, I'll just finish it, then I'll wave at you and let you know I'm done. But Donna got out of that, and her and I came together, and all that stress went away. And when it did, the energy came in, and we have just been blessed over and over and over again. Things are coming to us that we did not ask for, where we weren't smart enough. At least I wasn't smart enough to think about it.
Right.
And that's just a classic example in our life, or one example, I should say, of how the energy can come to you once you get out of stress, once you get out of the fear. Don't worry about the how, as Bill was talking about, and just go forward. So
once you get out of your own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're going to try it one more time. There he is.
Are
You
you with
back?
us, Bill?
Can you hear us? If you can hear us, just pop in when you can. You know, it's no problem with us because we know that it's amazing what you're going to share with us. But you know, again, that unknown quote that's in the book: "Fear knocked on the door, love answered, and there was nobody there." I
Right.
love that. I really do. When you read that yesterday, before, or whenever, it just blew my mind.
It
And
truly did. It
yeah,
was absolutely amazing.
mm,
It was amazing because they
yeah,
can't coexist in the same place.
yeah. And I like this one paragraph here. It says, "Do you stay attached to the known or like to explore the unknown?" Oh my goodness gracious. That's that's another one in it. That's that's another one in it. I
It
think
really
it,
is.
yeah, it really is.
It really is.
Do you stay attached to the known or like to explore the unknown? We got a little bit of feedback there.
Yeah, we do.
Hmm. Yeah, I tell you, it's it's kind of when you have when you have technical issues there, you know, it gets kind of, you know, kind of makes you wonder what's going on, you know, but that's above and beyond our control. It's above and beyond my pay grade too. Am I right on that, Donna?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, you know, it just is. It doesn't it doesn't hinder us in
Mm-mm.
any way, shape, or form.
No.
And that's one of the best things learning from this book is what
Mhm.
happens right this second. It's just a physical, it's just literally a bleep in time.
Mhm. It really is. And you know, Donna, I'm going to call it the page number so you can see it on top of 164. That one sentence says, "Are you living in limitation or expansion?" Oh my goodness gracious. How many people live in limitation all of their lives?
Oh.
I used to have a PhD in that. That's not funny.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
not funny.
No, it is true. It is true because that's, you know, that's again that survival mode.
Yeah.
That
Yeah. Because,
limitation is how we're born into that survival mode. Let me bring Bill back in.
oh, yeah. And when you
Hi,
talk
Bill.
about you
Hi,
talk about,
I'm on my third different device here. I'm sorry.
Third time's a
I seem to.
charm. We're good.
I'm on my phone. I have a much better connection with you now. It's very
there you
clear.
go. We were
Yeah.
just talking about on the page 164 there in chapter 6. Are you living in limitation or expansion? And oh my goodness, that's a good question to ask because a lot of people don't realize they're living in a limited, you know, type situation. They really don't.
There's
Right.
so many there's so many different ways that people limit themselves, and the first one is they get caught up in the accountability game. And
Mm.
when you're accountable energetically, you're in trouble. Okay, suffering's guaranteed.
Oh
And
yeah.
the reason it is, if you look at the from an energetic perspective, what accountability is you are answering to someone else's expectation,
Right.
Mm.
which always ends up being a moving target.
Mm-hmm.
So it then puts you into the victim position, and when you become a victim, you've got no power. You're giving all your power away.
Mm-hmm. Really are. And
And
Don, I didn't know if you had a good sentence there you wanted to share or not.
well, I'm looking for it. I kind of lost my place, but I was just going to say with what Bill just said, piggyback on that, is that, you know, for years, I had a hair trigger temper. And it took me a long time, but I finally realized that that anger was controlling me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was giving all my power away. And I promise you, God is my witness. I can't remember here lately the last time I had something that I absolutely lost my temper on. I just can't tell you.
Does that mean I've been on good behavior?
You have been, and I appreciate that.
You know, when that happens, Donna, it's there are stories inside of you. You know, the science has proven everything that's in my book is scientifically proven. You know, Jim talked about either expansion or limitation. But I want to go back first and talk about, Donna, about being in reaction with anger. What happens is your subconscious is what makes choices for you 7 seconds before you see it in the physical. I mean, it's been scientifically proven. And we see things and it immediately reminds us of an old story or something. And
A wound, if you will.
Something.
Right.
And, you know, boom, the next thing you know, you're screaming at the teller at the bank or whatever for no reason whatsoever. But it's because of your fear of loss of something. There's something's not going well for you. Okay.
Right.
And then you go into a defensive position. I mean, you can just see the spiral. And this is what creates limitation. When you look at what Jim said, the universe is only made up of energy, period.
Right.
Everything's energy. Everything's a vibration. And the universe is always in a constant state of organic expansion based on energetic levels, like attracts like.
Amen. Amen.
That is what you're after, not
Right.
what's going on in the physical. Because in the physical, when we use our mind, you know, you're talking to somebody, and while you're talking to them, what they're thinking of is how they're going to respond or defend themselves, and they aren't really even connected. You're just having an exchange of spewing information. But when you come from a place of feeling and you talk about, you know, like how excited I am with my new motor coach, it's just, you know, it smells good. You know, I mean, I can just go on and all the things that are cool about it that I've learned about it, you know, like, see, you can relate to that feeling because you've had an experience with a new car or something where you're like,
Right.
ooh, you know, and that's how we connect, is energetically,
Right.
right? So we can connect even though you've never been in or maybe ever seen a coach like this, but you've felt the energy. You see,
Correct.
when we get
Correct.
into the story, what I'm going to tell you is blah, blah, blah. This is why I bought it. I want to get your approval. This is what happened. What do you think? Tell me that I made the right choice.
Right.
Right? You were looking for outside support. Does that make sense,
Right.
Jim?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a very common thing that people do.
Really common.
Yeah, they
Right.
want to explain themselves. And goodness.
Right. They're looking for validation within others instead of themselves.
You're right.
They're looking for validation from others.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which
Mhm.
which tells them they're okay, but you're only going to get validation from people who are playing the same survival game you are, because it's a
Correct.
self-policing society. And in that
Correct.
society, people, there's jealousy, anger, resentment, all these other things come into play. When you speak to someone who's like myself, I live in the non-physical. The
Mhm.
physical life is around me, but I see life, everything through the non-physical. So resentment, anger, and jealousy, when somebody's doing something, I have the freedom to be me and respond to it and tell you how great I think that is. And I may even ask you some things. I may want to connect with some energies I'm not familiar with,
Right.
you know, so that I can, how does it feel? You know, and when you do that, how does the other person respond? They're like, oh, you're the nicest person I ever met. They really cared about me.
Mhm.
You know, Bill, I have, I'd like to read this 2 sentences on page 173 and have you expand into it for a moment. The
Okay.
power of allowing others to be responsible instead of accountable.
Oh, wow.
You know what to do with the non-physical resources once you learn what they are and how they function.
Well, there's a couple of again, we got to do this one sentence at a time. I have no idea what life is going to look like for anyone that works with this book. And the reason I don't is because all of the resources that are in there are resources that are available to everybody. And you get to pick and choose how and when you want to apply them and how fast you want to learn. We transform our lives at the speed of choice. And to make choice, we need awareness. If you want to advance, you must understand what's blocking you. You have to look at that honestly. Now, when the thing I love about energy is when you look at it energetically, it's either energy that's taking you closer to your soul or away from it. It's real simple.
Absolutely.
And then you get to make a choice. The only way you can make choices is by creating awareness. And to create awareness, you need guideposts. So the guideposts are all in the book. The guideposts are about our 7 divine powers. The guideposts are about our life lessons. The guideposts are about understanding the difference between the physical and the non-physical. And how to just breathe in abundance and love. I mean, that's all there is. Everything else is going to take care of itself. Everything else that's happening in the world is going to happen. So it's always in organic expansion. What was the first sentence? Those are two when they're both are pretty I could go a long time on either of them.
The first one was this. This is the power of allowing others to be responsible.
Oh, this is so good. That's so good. It's so good. You know why? Because I have clients all around the world that I work with, high-level business people. I have a client that was involved in a startup in San Diego 2 years ago. And he had to hire a whole team. They hired the team. They launched this media education company. He did with his team in his first year 105 podcasts from scratch. They had no equipment. He had to get the equipment and everything. And the way it got done is we taught all of the people on his team responsibility. When you choose to do something, you're responsible for that. You're responsibly saying, yeah, I'll take care of it. So I'm not going to come and check on you. I'm not going to come in and micromanage you. You have to come back to me with it. Now, if you get stuck, you come and say, hey, here's what's happening and we'll figure it out. But you don't make them accountable where they come in and you go, oh man, you're never going to get this. You're never going to learn this. There's no support. That's accountability. Oh, you did it that way. Those colors suck. This thing looks horrible. We need to, that's accountability, right? Responsibility is if I'm working with you on something, Donna and Jim will know this because I work with Jim on some other projects, is I'm going to build you up to learn to handle more responsibility. I'm going to teach you how to take on more responsibility, how to look for it, how to know whether or not you can handle it, how to talk about it intimately. So you're always having an open flow of communication, knowing that we're all there to learn new things. And that when Donna's doing something, she's taking care of it.
Right.
I don't have to think about it.
Right.
That's responsibility. Accountability is, oh, I got a job and I can't do anything. I got to pay my bills and I'm just stuck in that job. It's BS. You've got a job because you chose to fill out an application there. You chose to go through the process. If you're not pleased with it, make a new choice.
Right.
You don't have to make it this instant. You don't have to quit. You just have to get connected because you can go in the non-physical to your new job right now. We can literally create it. We can create it in the non-physical, and you can see how it feels and make twice as much money. You can see how it feels, and on, right? So that's the energy that's going to attract the new job and the opportunities, the ability to leave your current one. It isn't a matter of having to do it this second. But when you look at it and say, well, I'm responsible, I chose to do this, this is why I'm here, then you have
Right.
all the power.
Right.
Wow. And you're being honest with yourself, and that's a starting point. It really is.
Yeah, you know
It
that it
really
will
is.
happen. It's
Mhm.
inevitable. In fact,
Yeah.
well, that's what's most amazing about this is the universe. When you communicate with the universe, and the universe is um, omnipotent. I mean, it is. Everything is the universe. We're connected to everything. Everything's energy. But when you connect to that, you get to amp up that energy and put out the attraction, and the universe has to deliver your intention. Now, let me say this again. When you have an intention, the universe has to deliver it.
Mhm.
Right.
People
Yeah.
say, well, I've been wanting to go on that nice vacation and it hasn't delivered that to me yet. No, because you're blocking it energetically.
Right.
In order to communicate with the universe, you must speak to it energetically.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Mindset and logic
absolutely.
doesn't work.
Right.
Mhm. You're absolutely correct because many years ago, as a young guy, I met Earl Nightingale. I knew who he was, but I was too young and dumb to appreciate who he was. And he has a YouTube video called The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale that's on YouTube. And he is saying right there exactly what Bill said about when you ask for it, the universe has got to deliver it to you.
Right.
That's amazing. And that was really hard for me to kind of get my mind wrapped around that. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? It's true.
Hmm.
It's
Well,
true. I give you my
one of
word
the
on it. Go ahead.
one of the ways I explain that
Mhm.
is like this. The universe can't say no, but it always says no.
Hmm.
People go, what the heck are you talking about? There's two different ways to spell no.
Right.
N-O and K. The universe can't say N-O. It always says K-N-O-W.
Right.
It needs to know energetically,
Hmm.
Right.
and it has to deliver. It has to.
My goodness.
I love that.
Oh, that's
And,
amazing. It really is.
and it will only give you and deliver to you that which you can be spiritually responsible for.
Mhm.
I'll say
Wow.
that again. It will
Yeah.
only deliver to you that which you can be what your energy can be responsibly for.
That is absolutely incredible because the way you explain things and the way that you just come from a grassroots reality and what I call straightforward, uncomplicated country English, that is such a blessing to so many people because a lot of people, when they're trying to explain something, they want to speak on a much higher level using
Oh
fancy
yeah.
words, trying to impress people.
Right.
And that's a weakness.
Yeah, a lot of them have initials after their name, and they have to substantiate why they got those initials rather than just communicating the message.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I
Because,
tell people, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, when the clients I work with, anybody I work with, I always tell them the same thing. I am not responsible for your results.
Hmm.
Yet, the clients I work with, I give them a 100% money back guarantee that they will be living their life purpose so fast their head will spin.
Hmm.
No one's ever asked for their money back after hundreds of people. Because once they get the information, they're able to get in touch with themselves. It's really, really fascinating.
Right.
Uh, just it's very fascinating. But I can't be responsible for their results because I can't make choices for them. I can't see how they can best apply the guideposts that I have in the book. I help them create awareness, and then as they start making the choices and they see things change, and they just go.
Mhm.
Like I've
Yeah.
got one fellow, a scientist, worked for one of the drug companies, left, became a financial retirement specialist, very successful back east. He's like, I honestly did not know how to live until I met you.
Wow.
He was
That's
going through
beautiful.
he was going through the action, but he wasn't connected.
Correct. That is
It was all
beautiful.
a game. It was all trying to achieve. Now, I mean, he's like, life is just amazing. In fact, his wife is the president of my fan club. I mean, their whole life has changed drastically
I
because of
love that.
Yeah.
the choices he makes that fits in his life.
Right.
So I
Oh,
don't
I love
have any. Yeah, you can read the whole book and you might see something, on page 82 that changes your life for you. It will lead you to all those other things because everything I'm talking about, you definitely have to participate in on the path of truth to your life purpose. That is the path. There is
Yeah.
right.
nothing else to look for but what's in
Mm.
that book. Study that. You do that, you have it all. You don't
I
have to go to
love
any more seminars. You don't have to go talk to more gurus. You understand what's in that book,
Yeah.
and you'll be
And
living
then,
you'll live your life purpose.
and in the near future, in a few weeks out, Donna and I, we're going to bring back Bill, if working with his schedule, and we want to go over chapter 7, living abundantly, because that is going to be a power pack thing. I know I can use more of it. You can use more of it. I,
Absolutely.
and I know that Donna would agree with that. And we're going to work our schedules out where we can get Mr. Bill back, and we'll cover it the first
That
4 days and
that'll
have
be
him.
that'll be good. Let me tell you something right up front about abundance.
Okay.
Okay, we all have the same amount of infinite abundance.
Mm.
Every one of us.
Mhm.
We just block it differently.
Right.
Mm.
I
So it
love
isn't
that.
about somebody says, "Yeah, I want to really become abundant." And well, it's like make different choices. Like the
Mm.
abundance is right there.
Mhm.
This isn't about going to get something. It's about getting rid of the things that don't allow you to have something.
Right.
Mm. It's amazing because we just ran into a physical blockage ourselves, didn't we, Donna?
We did.
We're out of time. And
Well,
that's above and beyond our control.
right. But we first of all would like to thank everybody who tunes in to watch us
Mhm.
each and every week,
Yes.
wherever it is you are, and whatever platform that you see us on. And most of all, today, thank you, Bill, for being our special guest and letting
Mhm.
us have the honor and the opportunity to cover your book.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
thank you for the opportunity to discuss it with you. This is great. I don't care about selling books. I just care about people changing their lives.
I hear you. And be sure and visit Bill there at truelifepurposenow.com, truelifepurposenow.com. And we'll be back next week. We're going to be talking about Palantines. For
We
Valentine's Day, we're going to talk about Palantines with a P. And we're looking forward to that. We hope you'll be able to join us. Most importantly, be sure and love yourself first. Love yourself enough to forgive yourself of the things in your life that's gnawing at you. Then you can love others. And Donna and I, on behalf of Bill, we hope and pray that you are enjoying good health and you and your loved ones are blessed in all areas of your life. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.